First thing I want to say is that I am against a Susan Caspian romance, but at this point, I think the story has already been written, the movie's largely been made. I really think there's very little anyone can do about it at this point, so we're going to have to like it or lump it, and a lot of us are just going to lump it. But I think what Narnia fans out there really have to realize about this Susan Caspian romance is that it can't go anywhere. It just can't go anywhere. So you need to take heart because it can't go anywhere. Susan never comes back to Narnia. So obviously that's going to stilt the writer's Caspian-Susan romance. Furthermore, we know that Caspian falls in love with the Daughter of a Star later on in, well, actually in the next book, in Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So obviously his romance can't go anywhere, and so pretty much from the get-go, the Susan Caspian romance is confined to this one movie, and it just can't go anywhere. It can't get serious. It just can't get serious. So the question, of course, is raised, why even have a Susan Caspian romance in the first place if it can't go anywhere from the get-go? And there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, I realize why people are upset, because it destroys the reverence that Caspian has for the Pevensies. If Caspian feels that he can, just fall in love with Susan, it totally destroys, like, his image of her, his respect, his reverence. And, she suddenly becomes, fair game for a date. And just doesn't seem like the Caspian we know. But let's face it, folks, this isn't the Caspian we know. They've totally rewritten his character, so we're just going to have to get over it, I guess. I mean, not that we want to get over it, but if we're going to enjoy this movie at all, we have to realize that from the get-go, is that this is not the same Caspian. This is not the same character. So that being said, why have a Susan Caspian romance? This is what I believe happened. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the book, it's clearly stated that Susan is the heartthrob of many different princes throughout the world of Narnia. And filmmaking being as it is, they weren't able to show all of those years in between the time when the Pevensies first take the throne and when the Pevensies leave Narnia. So I think that the whole reason that they're doing this Susan Caspian romance is to show that Susan is a beautiful girl who any prince would just adore falling in love with. I think that's what they're doing. I think they feel that they missed the opportunity in Wardrobe, and they need to show that Susan is a worthy object of affection before Voyage of the Dawn Treader happens, because it sets up very nicely that whole jealousy scene with Lucy when she's looking through the magician's book. And so, is this Caspian-Susan romance absolutely necessary in Prince Caspian? I don't think so. I think there are ways that they could have gotten around it, but I do believe that this is sort of set up to just further define Susan's character as, she is the one who's a bit boy crazy. And actually, from Susan's point of view, this really isn't out of her character. In the book, obviously, Susan and Caspian never would have, been together because Caspian was so much younger than she is. But now, with Caspian being a few years older than she is, I could definitely see Susan going after Caspian. I know she likes to be picky with who she falls in love with. From The Horse and His Boy, we've evidently seen that she definitely doesn't want Rapidash. But I think that Susan could definitely entertain the idea of a Caspian romance given the conditions that Caspian is older and that Caspian is more dashing and that Caspian is Spanish and this sort of Antonio Banderas Jr., given all of these presets, yeah, Susan probably might entertain the idea of a romance. Now, from the Caspian point of view, again, remember, this isn't the same Caspian. So, you know, he sees beautiful Susan, heartthrob, the beauty of the family, and of course he's going to want to go with her, and he's going to want to get to know her better. Of course he is, because, you know, again, he's Antonio Banderas Jr., you know, he just has to have some girl to be with. I have one more theory. This one is a little bit farther out there. Actually, no, it's really, really far out there. But for the sake of argument, let's entertain the notion that perhaps Adamson felt, well, and his screenwriters, felt the need to put in a Caspian-Susan romance to give Susan a reason for being upset that she can't go to Narnia anymore, and thus give her a motivation to totally block Narnia out of her mind. Because as we see in The Last Battle, Susan has totally rejected Narnia. So maybe this idea that, well, her love is off in another world and she can never see her true love again, at least in her mind, you know, and even more being jealous because her true love marries the daughter of a star later on. I mean, that would be pretty bad, you know. That would kind of make you jealous. So maybe there's some motivation there. Maybe that's why they're doing this. Or, you know, maybe quite frankly, maybe just a few writers got and locked themselves in a room and decided, how can we make Prince Caspian interesting? And just said, oh, well, hey, how about we have a Susan Caspian romance, you know? Any of these theories apply, maybe multiple theories apply, maybe none of the theories apply. Well, those are three theories about this. And again, I have to tell everyone, take heart, the romance just can't go anywhere. So it can't be all that serious. If they do kiss, then, you know, that's as far as it's going to go. Because, as we all know, Susan goes back to England, Caspian marries someone else, so the romance just can't go anywhere.